Imagine a civilization so powerful that it ruled over 20% of the world's population. A city so advanced that its aqueducts and roads shaped the modern world. But then, it collapsed. Why did Rome, a civilization so mighty, fall so hard? The Roman Empire. For over 1,000 years, this colossal superpower dominated Europe, North Africa, and parts of the Middle East. Their armies were unstoppable, their architecture revolutionary, their culture. It set the blueprint for our world today. But despite everything, Rome didn't last forever. In this video, we're breaking down why the Roman Empire fell. And you might be surprised. It wasn't just one thing, but a perfect storm of problems. From corrupt leaders to financial chaos, from wars to diseases. This is the shocking story of Rome's collapse. The Roman Empire didn't just vanish overnight. It was a slow, painful process. So slow, in fact, that people living in the empire at the time probably didn't even realize what was happening. Historians call it decline. But what exactly caused this decline? How did a system so powerful, so well organized, eventually crumble? Today, we're going to explore the 5 biggest reasons Rome fell. Buckle up because the story of Rome's decline has it all. Betrayal, greed, invasion, economic disaster, and even a pandemic. Let's start at the beginning. At its peak, Rome's emperors were seen as gods. But as time went on, the empire started to crumble from within. By the 3rd century, Rome went through what historians call the crisis of the 3rd century. In just 50 years, Rome had 26 different emperors. 26. Most of them didn't last long, and for a good reason. Emperors started getting assassinated left and right. Generals would bribe soldiers to make themselves the new ruler, and the second they messed up, they'd be overthrown or killed. This constant power struggle drained Rome's resources and made it nearly impossible to govern such a huge territory. Laws became inconsistent, trust in the government collapsed, and corruption became a way of life. To make matters worse, many emperors started using Rome's money for their own luxury, instead of using it to strengthen the empire. Corruption wasn't Rome's only problem. By the 4th century, the economy was falling apart. Why? First, Rome kept fighting wars. Wars are expensive. Armies needed weapons, food, and money. And Rome kept spending, even when they couldn't afford to. To pay for everything, they started minting more coins, but instead of using silver or gold, they mixed in cheaper metals. People caught on, and the value of Roman money plummeted. Inflation hit hard. Food prices skyrocketed, taxes increased, and regular citizens suffered the most. Farmers were hit especially hard. Many abandoned their land altogether because they couldn't pay the taxes or grow enough food. This created a ripple effect. Without enough farmers, food shortages spread across the empire. At the same time, trade slowed down. Rome had once relied on trading luxury goods, but as its economy weakened, so did its connections to other parts of the world. Now, here's something to think about. Rome was huge. At its peak, it stretched from Britain to the Middle East, covering over 5 million square kilometers. Managing such a massive empire was a logistical nightmare. Roads had to be built, borders had to be protected, and cities had to be connected. In the beginning, Rome's strong government and military made this possible. But as corruption grew and the economy collapsed, it became harder and harder to maintain control. By the 4th century, emperors split the empire into 2 parts, the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire, also called the Byzantine Empire. The idea was to make it easier to govern, but instead it created division. The Western Roman Empire was weaker. It had fewer resources and less wealth than the eastern half, which was centered in the city of Constantinople. And as the West weakened, it became an easy target for Rome's greatest threat: barbarian invasions. For centuries, Rome's legions had protected its borders from outside attacks. But by the 4th and 5th centuries, that started to change. Barbarian tribes, like the Goths, Vandals, and Huns, were on the move. One of the most significant invasions came in the year 410 CE, when the Visigoths sacked the city of Rome. This was a massive blow. Rome, the eternal city, the center of the world, had been invaded, and the Roman people were shocked. But it didn't stop there. In 455, the Vandals attacked Rome again, and in 476, the Western Roman Empire officially fell when the barbarian leader Odoacer overthrew the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus. The fall of the Western Roman Empire didn't happen because of one invasion, but because of decades of constant pressure. Rome's weakened economy, corrupt leadership, and massive size made it impossible to defend against so many enemies. And finally, there was something else that hit Rome hard: disease. In the 2nd century, the Roman Empire was struck by the Antonine Plague, which is believed to have been either smallpox or measles. It killed millions of people, some estimate as much as 10% of the empire's population. Later, in the 3rd century, the Cyprian plague spread across the empire. Entire villages were wiped out, and the military was weakened because so many soldiers fell sick. Rome's population started shrinking. Fewer people meant fewer soldiers for the army, fewer farmers to grow food, and fewer workers to support the economy. It was a vicious cycle that made it even harder for Rome to recover. So, here we are. After centuries of dominating the world, the Roman Empire fell. On September 4th, 476 CE, the Western Roman Empire officially ended when Romulus Augustulus was overthrown. The eastern half, the Byzantine Empire, would continue for another 1,000 years. But the glory of ancient Rome was gone. The fall of Rome wasn't caused by one thing. It was the result of many problems happening all at once: corrupt leaders, economic disaster, constant wars, barbarian invasions, and deadly plagues all combined to bring down the Roman Empire. But here's what's fascinating. The legacy of Rome didn't die. Their laws, architecture, language, and culture continued to shape the world for centuries. Even today, you can see their influence everywhere, from the way cities are built to the way governments are organized. So, the next time you hear about the fall of Rome, remember, it wasn't just an ending, it was also the beginning of a new chapter in history. If you enjoyed this, watch the next video to learn about the Dark Ages.